What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here from DataDash, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic day wherever you are, because in today's sponsored review, I want to spend some time to talk about what may very well be one of the biggest innovations when it comes to decentralized exchanges in the crypto space. Today, we're going to be talking about a ZK rollup L2 project in the crypto ecosystem known as DeGate. And while that might sound like a lot of jargon, I want to talk more importantly about why DeGate here is a fundamentally revolutionary product in the sense that it has some of the best degree of security that we've come to know and love from the DeFi ecosystem, but at the same time has all the range of functionalities you'd expect from a traditional order book exchange that you would get on a centralized exchange platform like Binance or Coinbase. So I want to talk about this here throughout today's video and why it's critical to not have to sacrifice one or the other, but rather have both of them from a single experience, and how this could revolutionize the further adoption of DeFi as a whole. So we got a lot to unpack here in today's video, so if you happen to enjoy it, consider dropping a like. Let's go ahead and kick things off. Now, before we dive into DeGate and all of its functionality, we need to understand a little bit of history. As many of you probably remember, unless you've been living under a rock, in the crypto space, we've had our fair share of hacks and exploits. Going back, even just back a few years ago to 2022, we had the huge misappropriation of funds from FTX. We had this with a whole range of other exchanges and centralized crypto providers. And even going back since 2013, there was the Mt. Gox hack that stole hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin. A huge chunk of the crypto ecosystem at that time, and the users who were actively trading and participating in the price discovery and market activities of crypto. Unfortunately, after more than a decade, we have not learned our lesson. In the crypto space, there are still a ton of centralized exchanges that dominate the industry, and it is because people are willing to sacrifice security for convenience of opportunity. Being able to do the right order types you want, being able to, for example, dollar cost average or engage in complex grid strategies to maximize returns and be able to provide more liquidity. There is a whole range of features that centralized exchange offers that you just unfortunately can't get access to in some of the biggest decentralized exchanges like Uniswap, which at the end of the day is just an automated market maker. Put it simply, all you can do is market orders, buying at the best available price, rather than setting orders to buy later at a lower price or provide liquidity in a deeper sense. Well, that's exactly what DeGate does here. DeGate comes with a whole range of functionality that I'm going to be unpacking here in today's video. But one of the greatest things that I like about DeGate, before we even talk about functionality, is getting back to that root thing that matters most, and that's security. Now, there's a whole range of layer 2s out there in the market that are continuing to build upon the Ethereum ecosystem and the EVM compatible ecosystem out there that existed back a year or two ago. But when it comes to DeGate, DeGate is an emerging player in this space. It's the 20th largest when it comes to total value locked on its network, but there's a big standout feature that comes with DeGate that you just don't find with other L2s. And that is that on L2Beat, which is one of the best aggregators for data here, we can see that it's a stage 2 L2. And what I basically want to emphasize about this is that it is clear from the get-go, being a stage 2 L2 on L2Beat, this basically means that DeGate meets certain types of requirements to its smart contracts that allow us to utilize it in a more transparent way. A lot of smart contracts for even some of the biggest DeFi protocols can be changed, and they don't provide very large windows of time for you to be able to draw your funds from the protocol before those changes come about. Outside of that as well, there are just a whole range of different security exploits that can happen from some of these big smart contracts because of the simple way they're programmed, not even mentioning the potential exploits from experimental code that some of these protocols have. Well, while there might be a wide range of different protocols competing to be the leading L2, DeGate is one of 2 protocols that meet stage 2 requirements according to L2Beat, meaning that users have over 30 days to withdraw funds from the protocol if an initiated change has been initiated for a smart contract, meaning that if they want to upgrade the DeGate protocol as it is, it's going to take over 45 days for that upgrade to go through, and users have over 30 days to be able to exit from the rollup and bring their funds back to the Ethereum chain. So this is really exciting stuff here. And when you start to consider the wide range of different features, the trading volume that's going on DeGate already being relatively early stage, and the user count that it's seeing being a protocol that hasn't focused heavily on marketing just yet and getting its name out, I think it's high time to start giving it a chance and at a minimum, keeping an eye on the continued traction that it's getting. So I want to go ahead and talk about some of the reasons why it could be seeing this traction. First off, you have spot trading. Now, at the end of the day, spot trading is probably the simplest form of trading you can do, but versus utilizing an automated market maker like Uniswap, in the case of DeGate, you can trade from one asset to another, but you can not only do market orders, but along with that as well, limit orders. So you can buy at the best available price if you want, just like on Uniswap, but outside of that, you can set limit orders. This again is something that's rare for a lot of people in DeFi because usually limit orders were a unique feature that is only capable on Orderbook exchanges like DeGate, whereas most people are familiar with using automated market makers. So this is great in the sense that if I wanted to, for example, wait and buy Ethereum, let's say I was doing some range trading here and I wanted to wait until Ethereum came down here towards around 2,900 bucks, I could set a limit order there within the exchange and purchase it. But there's one other thing that you might have noticed here that is quite interesting about DeGate. In the case of DeGate, they've partnered with one of the leading protocols that's focused on building a yield-bearing stablecoin. So this is not an algorithmic stablecoin, so to speak, but a stablecoin that is backed by real government-grade treasury bills from the United States. So you're essentially having something that has its principal value, similar to having dollars in a bank account for USDC or USDT, but beyond that, you're also getting the yield with it, which is a pretty exciting thing. Now, of course, you don't have to utilize USDM. There's a whole range of USDC and USDT pairs for some of the major cryptocurrencies out there in the market. But the main point I want to bring home here is that you have these really interesting functionalities that even some centralized exchanges don't give you the same functionality for. But beyond this as well, there are also a whole range of other things that might be valuable for you. For everyday users who are looking to get long-term exposure to the broader crypto market, you can also, in a decentralized fashion, set up a DCA plan right from within DeGate's platform. And how to set it up is relatively simple. All you have to do is choose your frequency, so you can do daily, weekly, or a custom time frame, depending on a certain interval of days, or hours, or minutes, if you really want to get down into the nitty-gritty. But generally speaking, you can start from a particular time, set an end date, and set the amount per time interval. So basically, you can set it completely custom to what you want, and you can set it to do it on a certain frequent basis with a certain amount of capital. But beyond just dollar cost averaging, you can also plan to dollar cost exit out of your positions by automatically and routine selling your positions when you feel like you're roughly getting towards the top. Rather than trying to sell it all at once, you can start to slowly close out of your positions and take profits over time on a fixed frequency. This to me is really cool stuff. And I think it helps a lot of people who have that nervous tick of really trying to time bottoms and tops because it is a near impossible task. This can help you to stay disciplined and be able to actually execute on a broad strategy when price enters certain ranges to accumulate, but also to exit. Doing what I like to call dollar cost averaging, but in a smarter way, smart DCA, right? So this is, I think, a very solid approach here for where you can utilize DeGate to do something that, again, a lot of exchanges just don't give you the same functionality. Outside of that, I want to talk a little bit about the grid strategy here. So what exactly is a grid strategy, and why is it not only valuable for you as a trader potentially, but beyond that, valuable for the whole range of users who may be using the DeGate protocol? Well, the reason why it's valuable is because a grid strategy is basically a streamlined way of trading ranges without trading at a particular price point. More particularly, you're essentially providing limit order and ask orders or liquidity on the order book. By setting a set of different types of lower ranges where you would apply your liquidity to buy a given crypto position and a set of prices above the current market price where you would likely want to sell those positions or maybe at the current market price as well, you can start to exit out of those positions and hopefully close at a profit. And this is a new way of providing liquidity, potentially even the new way that people are really going to be looking at doing it in 2024, beyond the traditional liquidity provision on AMMs like Uniswap. It can allow you to really make some solid returns, setting in these grid strategies, these ranges where price is usually quite volatile in trading. But beyond that as well, what you're doing is providing a solid amount of liquidity on the order book for DeGate as a platform. So in many cases, you're not only helping end users on the platform, but there's also likely going to be other different types of incentives that basically encourage you to apply these grid strategies, not just for making profit, but also potentially yield farming and making other types of benefits. For one thing, grid strategies are are free. So by essentially providing liquidity to the order book, you're trading for free, and you can manually adjust these to how you want them to be built out. So for example, let's say, for example, now that we hit $3,000 on Ethereum, I think that we're going to see a cool down of some sort. I think we're going to see some kind of pullback in price. And I want to build an averaged entry and to the next couple of key price levels that I'm watching so that I can essentially trade the range up for the next big move and start to offload my positions in liquidity as we move higher. Well, I can basically adjust this grid strategy to have an adaptive price range, which again, later on, you can apply different types of grid strategies as well. And we can also change the number of grids. Maybe I don't want to do 15 orders, but I want to have a higher frequency. Or maybe I want to do 30 grids here. So I'm getting some orders filled in a more narrow price range. Maybe I'm not waiting around for much larger gaps from one order to another, so to speak, right? And you can also, again, set the different types of quantity per grid. So essentially how far away in the price width we're seeing from one entry to the next, and also vice versa on the selling. But you generally get the principle here. We are hoping to buy down here and sell at these higher prices here, not only to turn a profit, but also to provide liquidity and maybe even get additional rewards from that. DeGate is really pioneering in this implementation of grid strategies. And as I mentioned before, I think this could be a big move for liquidity provision in the coming year for those of you who are interested and maybe have provided liquidity on Uniswap before. But beyond all this as well, I want to get back to one really important point here, which is that the cost of fees on the app, in this case, whether it's network fees or when it comes to the actual protocol fees, are incredibly low here. In this case, when it comes to limit orders on the exchange, you're basically paying no fees. Market orders are incredibly cheap. Current rate right now for market order or taker fees is around 0.01 to 0.05%. Way lower than most centralized exchanges, and definitely beneficial if you are actively trading in the market, and especially if you're scalping or doing more short-term trading strategies. So the fees alone already make it really enticing for a whole range of users out there in the market. But beyond the network fees and the platform fees being cheap, I think it comes back here to the topic of security. Right? At the end of the day here, we want to have the most trustless decentralized exchange, because if you can find the application out there that allows you to trade to your heart's desire, gives you all the features and functionality you want, and you can have the utmost assurance that you can execute orders the way you want, but also cancel them, and know that the platform is going to function as intended, DeGate is the provider for that. And one way that they prove this, beyond all of the things we already discussed, like the 30-day or 45-day window before upgrades and the protocol go active, the fact that it's decentralized and running as its own ZK rollup on top of the Ethereum network, beyond all of that, one really exciting feature is that you can essentially, for market orders, reverse on-chain any order that you've signed. So what I mean by this is that as a user, you might have signed that you want to buy Ethereum with your crypto at a set price, right? Well, while you can automatically cancel it within the application before the order gets executed, and the platform will obviously respect that, if you're someone who wants to have no trust of the DeGate team for potentially using that signature to prove actually the user wanted to get the order, essentially you can on-chain revoke that transaction to make sure that it doesn't get executed, and you pay a small network fee for it. So I think that this is really cool. Like, if you're really trading with serious amounts of capital, I would say that there are very few exchanges out there where I'd feel really comfortable applying my capital. But in this case, DeGate takes off all those boxes. They've put security as priority number one, yet they don't sacrifice the feature set that we're so used to knowing and loving from centralized exchanges. So they not only launched their testnet back nearly 2 years ago, leading towards a successful mainnet launch here within 2023, but beyond that as well, they've had an immunified bug bounty program of $1.1 million up since back in 2023, and no breaches of the smart contract or claim of the bounty, meaning that the smart contract code is incredibly secure and battle tested. So I think that these are the kind of things that I look for. And I also look for a lot of things that allow for permissionless innovation, like the ability to have permissionless listings on the exchange. So DeGate, being this ultimate exchange order book that's decentralized by nature, allows you to permissionally list tokens and create your own market pairs. I think this is really great because as a project founder, if I were to go out and launch a token, I'd not only want capital on AMMs like Uniswap, but I'd want to allow professional traders who might be used to a centralized exchange interface of orders on the order book through limits and asks, and people who might want to buy it at a lower price or sell at a higher rate, then I want them to have the ability to trade in an order book, and DeGate gives them that. So I think that, again, in summary, while I could go through and talk about DeGate for a very long time, I think we've covered a pretty good amount of things today. And I think you guys can start to see why I'm really excited about this. Having something that is a ZK rollup on top of the Ethereum network that's built to scale, that's low cost, has deep liquidity and solid trade volume, with all the features and functionality we come to expect from centralized exchanges, if not more, and the security apparatus in which we have never seen in the crypto space for an exchange order book, utilizing all the best principles and checks and balances of DeFi, that for me is right up my alley. As someone who's covered DeFi as a trend since 2019, as someone who used Uniswap in the early days, as well as Compound and Aave back when it was ETHLend, this is the kind of stuff that gets me excited. This is the real innovation in DeFi. And it's going to be really exciting to see where DeGate goes over the next couple of months. And I'm sure we're going to be covering it more here on this channel. But if you guys are interested, check out the links down below in the description if you want to try it out. Whether you want to apply a grid strategy, try the DCA feature, or just find a great place to trade, I think DeGate could be a good home for you. So I'll leave the links down below, and let me know what you think in the comments. If you like this video, consider dropping a like. I'd love to hear your candid thoughts, maybe some questions on the protocol, so I can have some things maybe to discuss in the future. That's it for today's video, everyone. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.